Hello, beautiful souls. How's everyone? It's been a little while, so I wanted to do a live today to talk about the different elements and why I want to spend a little more time talking about the air element because I think it's one that many people don't really think about when we are talking about the different elements and how we can use them on a everyday, you know, everyday situation, whether it is unconsciously really doing something that can be more useful in terms of how to use this element for you to get the most out of every day, really, because I don't think a lot of people pay attention to that. So, first, I want to just do a quick review of the last few weeks of different sessions. And it's hard to do that, even though sometimes I do want to give you some idea of the healing that some people are receiving, because it really is very beautiful. The problem with that is that I have to say so much to recap, and time is limited. So, but let me just say it this way. I had let me just give you the last week. We had a beautiful session with such a beautiful soul. She truly was having a lot of panic attacks. And while going through those panic attacks, one day she realized that she needed to get help. And that's why she ended up coming to see me for a session. It's been a couple of months since that session, and she came last week to do another session. And the progress that she has made has been mind blowing, to be honest. So to see that progress is actually very beautiful, very gratifying, because you can see people making life changes that as a result of going through a session, quantum healing session or soul regression session. And it's just mind blowing because we have access to everything that we need. It's not outside of us. This healing is happening without what we normally consider magic. And that's why I want to do this session on the elements magic, but to break it down for what happens, why they're important for every day, how to incorporate them, perhaps if we can have time to get to that, and be more conscious about who we are, how we live our life. This person that was having so many attacks, all she did was a quantum healing session, and having those panic attacks, those anxiety of what happened in the past, what's going to happen in the future, and coming out of the session feeling truly new, truly like, you know, it's okay. What happened in the past and what's going to happen in the future is it. The future is none of her business, and the past is already gone. So for her to be able to be present within such a short time was really mind blowing, because my process to get to a point where I feel present hasn't been that easy. So, and trust me, I've been working on myself for many years. But to see someone just go through one session and receive that and truly enjoy the present moment after having panic attacks for so long, it really is mind blowing. And then I had, let me see, another one that comes to mind right now is another person, very, very, his crown chakra was so open. I kept seeing different geometrical shades while talking to him during the interview time, when I was getting to know him. And to see that in someone that has been going through some challenges, but not only those challenges, but more so the journey of this soul in this earth here now, and how this person that looks normal has two, not just one, two higher selves that came through together. And one of the things that blew my mind it didn't blow my mind, but at that moment, it was in a aha moment, I think, definitely for him, was how some of the additions disconnected him from the higher selves. And to regain that reconnection to the higher selves, he will have to give up some things that you can say that he's addicted to, like some type of drinks and stuff like that, like teas and what we call different type of ceremonial teas. And this could be very well coffee for me. Like, I'm a coffee drinker. I love coffee. Like, you want to win me over, all you got to do is offer me black coffee. That's it. And I'm there. Like, you got me. But to see that, obviously it wasn't just because of that, but right now, one of the biggest thing that he has to give up is Creighton, which is a type of ceremonial tea that we normally drink at kava bars and stuff like that. But even that causes a disconnection between the two higher selves and his lower self. And he experienced so much. But one of the things that they say is, in order for us to have a full connection, and I'm talking about someone that is very spiritually evolved, this person is definitely next level. He has been going through a journey, a spiritual journey, and he's at the point where, when we connected and I was seeing the different shapes and all of that stuff, I was like, like getting so much information. This person is very evolved. But for him to be able to experience that fluidly without this connection, he will have to give up some things that he considers himself addicted to. And I just find that interesting because, when we think about some of the other sessions that I have done with some people, including my own sessions, where they have told me that there is a reason for my body type and all of that, or some of the people where they have extra weight and different challenges because it's part of their mission to not get distracted. And you know then you start thinking like, well, is this affecting my connection with my higher self? And you go through all of that. When I finished the session with him, I had a lot of issues in the throat area. And it took me a couple of days to feel the release of the throat area. And he was going through, part of his healing included the throat area. So I thought that was fascinating to experience exactly what he was experiencing, probably even stronger than he was, because he was feeling the energy move through him. But for me, it wasn't my session, but the next day I woke up with a sore throat. So to experience that as the practitioner, yeah, I think it's very powerful, because we can clearly see that we're not just dealing with just the client healing. Like, the practitioner also gets affected by what is going on with the client and what needs to be healed and so on. And I had it's been a while, so a couple of months ago I scheduled Beyond Quantum Healing session for myself with a beautiful practitioner. She just starting her journey, and she wanted to do a session to practice. And I really put a lot of effort into getting ready for that session by meditating daily and going through all the things that I can think of that I wanted to address about my life, my journey. And after that session, I was like, oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I felt like I got like a restart, like something, it was like something just really happened that I can even explain to you. And it was just beautiful and mind blowing. And it was a very short session compared to the quantum healing sessions that I hold for you guys. But it was exactly what I needed. Like, everything was just like, and the lives that I got to experience, I had never experienced. Like, most of the time when I do my sessions, they're very much like a little crazy. Something is going on with magic and stuff like that, or like, like some weird things. And this life that I experienced were very normal, and but they had so much answers for me. I was a woman in the 1600s, between 1600 to 1700s, and I was a white American looking woman with blonde, no blonde, white long hair. And I was like a seamstress, and I was making clothes, and my husband was a white male. and he had some type of store that he sold merchandise and drinks as well at a saloon. That's what I remember seeing, like a saloon type of thing. It was like the wild, wild, what do you call that? Like that movie, the Wild Wild West or something like that, like out in the West somewhere with like cowboy boots and long dress and stuff like that. And there were answers there because lately I've been feeling a lot of energy within the heart center and the throat area, like I mentioned to you for those couple of days. And it was just perfect timing because I had scheduled that session months ago, but somehow my higher self knew that this person was coming, that was going to affect my throat area. And also, I've been feeling a lot of energy in my heart area, and I had no idea why. I couldn't figure out the answers. And I go into that session for myself, and this woman is crying. The husband, which is me in this life, in that life, cries because the husband is passing away. He died from a heart attack, and she was in empath and was feeling all of that energy. And when I went into that, when I went into that session, I was in so much. I felt so lonely because that's how she felt. She felt very lonely. So I thought it was just perfect. Like our higher selves knows exactly what we need when we need it. So I just find that completely fascinating. But I think I'm gonna leave it there for the updates because I do want to get into the elements, healing with the elements, fire, earth, water, and air, and obviously ether, right? But I think that's an obvious one, so I left it out of the title just so we can focus on those. And I want to spend a little more time on air because I do believe that it is one of the elements that most people don't really like. Like a lot of people like, oh, I can work with fire energy and I can do fire magic. And we all know that a lot of us are doing, different type of magic with the different elements, especially with water. It's one of the biggest one where you see a lot of people working with Yemaya and Oshun and so on, and Mami Wata and the Simbis, and but I think a lot of people forget the air element. So we're gonna spend just a little bit more time on that than the other ones, but I want to get started. So, and I also going to bring a little bit of the energy, the semis from this book here that are the wind semis, and they're related to the air element, and we're going to go through that and how to understand it better so for our daily life, because like I said, our higher self, we have access to healing beyond what you can imagine with only ourself, our higher self, without looking outside of us. We have access to everything we need, and my goal is to bring that to you in a way that hopefully makes sense by the end. And I know it's a lot to say in one video, so I'm going to try to simplify the best way I can. But my goal is for you to understand that we truly are divine beings and that we have access to our own healing. And that if we can understand that, all we got to do is surrender and ask and allow to receive the healing that we need. I know it sounds very simple, but it works. I see it every day with quantum healing and the clients. And what is quantum healing? We are bringing the higher self, and some people doubt their higher selves because they don't feel something. Wow, they think it has to be somewhere from outside, and it is inside of us. So we're going to bring that to ourselves and to understand how we have all of these elements not only inside of us, but everything that is outside of us is inside of us, right? And I want to remind you before we even start that this is my opinion. And, you know, you might find something similar somewhere else, and that's okay. But this is my opinion at the end of the day. So, what I'm giving you here is my opinion. Doesn't mean that this is going to be 100% true or that everybody's going to see it the same way. And I just wanted to make that disclaimer because maybe in the comments, some people will be like, well, that's not the real definition, or we can get very scientific on the different elements and all of that, but we're not. I'm going to try to be as simple as possible without going too much into any scientific evidence or research or anything like that. So again, that's my disclaimer. This is my opinion. And you know, if you don't agree with what I say, you can kindly, respectfully leave comments for other people to get your perspective. But let's remember to be respectful in the comments area and in the chat area. And if you're here, definitely say hello in the chat area. I will not be reading the comments now, but I will do that towards the end. So let's start with fire energy, and we can do a full video on fire energy. So I'm not going to spend all of that time. I think I did a video before last year about the elements in our body and all of that stuff. So I'm just going to do a quick recap so that I can get to the air element soon. So fire energy, this energy is within us, is the energy of the food that we consume. That when we consume it, it goes into our body and it becomes energy, right? That's the simplest way that I can explain that. That fire energy within us can also be seen outside of us as the paternal energy. As we know, fire, you know, like that energy of the Leo, right? That energy of the Leo, but now for some of you that are in the occult, you will know also the Petrons are fire energy. The Petrons have that fire, that protection and aggressiveness that makes them who they are, right? They can make things happen that a lot of other energies cannot do because they have that energy of the fire within them. When we really understand what this means, not only we're talking about what we see, because the fire energy brings a sense of what we can see through our eyes, and the eyes correspond to the fire energy, seeing the sight. So we react to the light. The way we see and perhaps sense comes from that energy of the fire. Our sight also reacts to that light, right? So this is the way that we sense, we tend to sense in this 3D reality. And that can also be through the earth element, because with the earth element, we do a lot of touching. And it's going to make sense in a little while. I just want you to hear now. And then at the end, I'm going to give you the different chakras and why it's important to understand this. So just bear with me, please. So we have the eyes, right? But the third eye, which is the element of ether, is actually right here, right? But our eyes that have the regular 3D human eyes is how we tend to think that we understand things. And that brings a lot of, that can bring a lot of misunderstanding from our end on what we think we understand just by seeing, because sometimes what we see is not what it is, right? I think everybody can agree with this. Sometimes what we're seeing is actually not what it is. So that's why when we develop the third eye, we can have a different level of consciousness, and expanded level of consciousness that allow us to truly understand, which is different than just seeing. That makes sense, right? So when we expand our level of consciousness, we are seeing. There was a beautiful, oh my goodness, I have to find that drawing and maybe share that link to you guys, because I think it will make so much sense, especially for those that are in the Ifa or Santeria, how they broke down the different energies and how they correspond to the Kabbalah tree compared to the Orishas pantheon. Anyways, hopefully if I find that, I'll share that with you guys in a link. So this fire energy is purifying. We can purify a lot with fire energy, right? When we have that energy of the fire, it turns to burn away things so that it can make new things, right? It can be very destructive, but it is one of the elements that we need, and later it's going to make sense to you why this is actually a beautiful. I mean, inside the earth we have fire, right? We have lava. So there is so much that we can say about this energy, But I just wanted to do a quick recap so I can get to the air, because my main goal here is the air element. So, I'm trying to jump all the way around, but hopefully makes sense to you. I want to move on to the earth. Earth is all of this, right? Within us is our body, but the bones, the muscles, the fat, the tissues, that is earth within us. Outside of us, this temple, right, is all like encapsulated in a body, in a 3D human body. The earth also is what we can touch. We are corresponding to the senses. It is the touch. So fire is the eyes, earth is the touch. Each element we are trying to correspond um, to represent it also through the senses, so that we can make sense of it when we get to the chakras and which element corresponds to the chakra. It's going to make sense to you why air is so powerful for us to understand. So just very briefly again, earth is the bones, the tissue, the fat, the muscles, this vessel, the temple, right? And then we get to water, and we all love water, because truly without water we cannot have life in this planet. We Probably one of the most fascinating elements that I find is water. And we all have the soul's element that we are most in alignment with. For me is water, which is no surprise why Mami Wata and Yemaya are definitely right there, part of my spiriting, right? And in my guardian energies within the different practices that I practice, right? So water, our body are composed of water. And some people say 60%, 70%, 90% composed of water, that our bodies are composed of water. And I need water right now. Interesting. And the reason why maybe I'm coughing is because in my mind, water is very much associated with the throat chakra, even though some people believe that the throat chakra is ether, is the element ether, which probably is. I just believe that there is more to the throat than what most people understand and believe. So I see the throat as ether and water, combination of both. But we'll get to that later. So water is the actual, when you think of the different chakras, and you'll see later why the water obviously is the sacral chakra, right? Is the cosmic womb. The cosmic womb, though, is not just within our body, it's also out in the atmosphere. The water have the three states. It is the only element that has those states, and that can expand when it freezes and contract when it's heated. So, and that is still being analyzed today by scientists. Is like a mystery with this water element. And there is obviously, we all know about the dark mothers, the primal entities, the primal mothers like Noon, Mami Water, what else? Yemoya, any of those entities, Naisa, they're going to have that mystery behind them that is very hard to get to the root of it. It's a mystery, it's a secret. So water is the most common element on earth. We all need water to grow. Everything around us needs water, but water is also our emotions. It is the origin of life comes through the water, through the cosmic water, right? This is interesting because when we think of hearing, we think of air, but it is so much related to water, because everything around us has so much water that even when the things make the sounds, there has to be water within that, because everything in this, it could be water in a gas form, right? But it's still water. It's still water, right? So everything that is making a sound, you can like believe or sense the water within that sound. Like, how do I explain this to you? Like, when we think of water, the energy, the sense most that is most corresponding to that will be the ears, because we can hear. We It's almost like, okay, let's say the plants have water. The plants, in order for a plant to, there is a seed, and then it has to have that water in order for it to grow and become something, right? And when those palm trees move, right, they're moving, they're making a sound. That sound is carried through so that you can hear the sound, and it affects you, right? So there is a lot that we can say about water, and I think I'm doing a bad job because it's so, like, everything that I'm seeing and trying to communicate is not coming out 100%. So let me take a second. So water is the element that has the three different the state: solid, liquid, and gas. Water is all around us. If you go into a meditation, you go into a meditation and you are deep in your meditation, and you might not even know that you're deep into your meditation. And I promise you that you're so deep because someone makes a sound with a little pencil like this, and it feels like somebody punctured you, because that space becomes like a cosmic womb. Trying to figure out if I can explain it another way, but I don't know if this is making sense to you. So this water in the atmosphere that is throughout the entire planet, right? It's almost like a cosmic womb that is holding this together. So it is very much related to our sense of hearing, because we pick up information. I keep saying, when you guys go to the supermarket, you sense things, you can, like, something is going on, because your light bodies are picking up all of that information and bringing you that information, and you're trying to make sense out of the information, sometimes without you even knowing, and you're reacting to that without you even knowing sometimes, unless you're very conscious. And that's why a lot of impacts have a very hard time going places, because they're always picking up, picking up, picking up. And that happens because of this element that we have within us, the water, that it is always picking up information and translating information within you. There is a professor, oh my God, what is the name of that professor? A professor from Penn State University. He did research on water, just like Dr. Emoto did the research on the water and how it stores information, and how the different things that you tell the water will create different shapes and symbols within the water, like shapes within the water. This professor, oh my God, Troy or something like that, Professor Troy, I think maybe that's his name. He has done research that indicates that the water picks information, restore information, and keeps that information throughout history. So this water in our body has information from the origins of this planet. And this is key for us to understand, because it has information from the origins of the planet. It is how we can have access to all of it. The more that we meditate and we go through our process of meditation and contemplation, and eventually, hopefully, going through the Akashic field and going through the higher planes, all within our mind, obviously, because the water makes the DNA helix. So that information within the DNA is there for you, for all of us. It's not just you, all of us, right? So this water acquires information, reacts to that information, and this is why I keep telling people, every time we are changing energy. I'm giving you information, you're giving me information, and the information is just doing this constantly and picking up and picking up and picking up. And if the information is broken, that's why when I do a session with you, You could receive information from me at a higher level, and I receive information from you. And if something is broken, then I have to, my water within me has to go and fix it. And if something is broken and I give you something, then the same thing happens to you. But if we're exchanging information, what happens is that at a higher level, I'm giving you information that I have that you need to restore your information. And that's why energy exchange is very, very powerful. And that's why you have to be careful of the people that you hang out with and the people that you listen to and the people that you are normally in association with, because otherwise you pick up their information and then it takes you a long time to fix that if it's constant. Does that make sense? Like if it's constant, you're always fixing, you're not upgrading, you're just repairing what was broken and it continues as a loop. Please let me know in the comments. I know there are people here in the listening to the conversation, and I just want to know if I'm making sense to you, please, so I know if I should move on or not. So the wire acquires the information, reacts to that information, and those people, especially those that are already very empathic, are picking up, picking up, picking up, and then we have a hard time releasing because we don't know what is mine, what's not mine. Why do I have to deal with this? Or no, I already faced this. I don't have to deal with this anymore. I'm giving this back to the universe. You recycle this energy because I already dealt with this and I think I am healed. I am happy. So this is coming back to test me. And I think I passed the test. So I'm going to give it back to you and you release it to the universe so that the universe can recycle that energy properly and you transmute that energy so that, you know, a lot of people say just release it. I believe that we have to transmute the energy. Yeah, sometimes we have to release it and the universe knows what to do, and but sometimes I do believe that most of the time we have, that's why we're here, we have to transmute that energy so somebody doesn't have to deal with it unless they really have to, and then that's not on you, that's on source. Because who are we to say who gets to do it or not, right? Thank you so much for letting me know. um thank you, Sylvia, and the Triple Goddess Network. Thank you. So DNA is has the records of everything. I have done sessions, quantum healing sessions with clients where their higher selves are coming in to let them know they're going through the first 12, but they're going to get to the 24th strand, some possibly even more. And it is just magical how that information comes, because sometimes we're not even asking that information. The higher self is letting them know so that they can get ready and be more conscious about their decisions and what they decide to do with their life. But at the end of the day, it's their life. They have to make that choice. It's always a choice, right? But all of that information that is stored within us from the beginning, the origins and all of that. Now, the thing is that it gets very convoluted and complicated because we all know that there are different timelines. So what you see as one potential reality of the origins might be different for somebody else depending on the God molecule that you're working with for this lifetime. So it gets very complicated, and I'm not going to get into that because I just want to keep it simple here. So the water has the capability of restoring, and this is beautiful because it's like if the water can restore, right, we can restore, we can heal ourselves. Now the interesting thing, which is why I find this fascinating, is because this cosmic womb within us and outside of us, which is basically water, with all the dark waters and all of that, and the symbees, right, the symbees are water energies, water luases. They're part of the creation myth and they vibrate at the same frequency because they're water energies, right? What I find fascinating is when it comes to air, the air that we're breathing and smelling, that is rejuvenating us. When we are doing the quantum healing sessions, the higher self always comes to say, even though these people might be very well spiritually awakened and advanced, the higher self is coming in with one thing that I always find completely fascinating, and that is breath. And it sounds so simple. That's why I'm laughing, because it's like, what do you mean breath? That's the answer. That's so simple. And it's like when they're deep in that trance and the higher self is healing, and I am asking them what you're doing, what type of technology are you using, and especially, because I love their Turians, and their Turians work with a lot of technology or known to human. Well, the higher self comes in, we are breathing and moving the energy. And these people are very advanced. Some of them are breath workers. They're not like, okay, like they know how to breathe. And they're like, no, but the way that I'm moving energy through them, it's like a breath, but it has a different function because this person is at a different state of consciousness now, that by the breath that they're giving them through their physical vessel, they're feeling that energy and is moving the energy throughout the entire body and looking for the places where the energy is stuck. And because the energy is stuck, now with this breath, the higher self is able to push that air out. And sometimes what the higher self says, and we are applying heat, and they're going to feel like a heat sensation in this area. Sometimes it's a little bit of coolness, like they feel like a little like a fresh air that is like a cooling energy. But sometimes if something needs to be healed, they're going to feel pressure and a little bit of heat. And this is interesting because all the higher self is doing is breathing. And what the higher self has indicated is that this air not only is an expansion and connection between everything that we know between fire and water, and later we're going to get to the chakras, but the air is that breath that brings new energy and releases the energy that is already dead, that is stuck energy that has been sitting in one place. And that's why they feel discomfort in that part of the body without even knowing, because the energy is not moving through that area, which I completely find fascinating, because basically we all know breath is life force, right? Like in Hindu is prana, in Chinese is chi, and we know these things, but to believe that we can heal ourselves by breathing. And I had someone, this guy comes in, he's like a breath worker. He's crazy about his breath. He's doing crazy breath exercises, and when he gets to his session, the higher self tells him, no, you're just going to breathe deeply in, deeply out, simple, nothing crazy. And that is the best exercise that you can do when you want to quiet your mind. Of course, when you're going through trance and stuff like that, you do different like holotropic breath work and stuff like that. And we're not talking about that. We're talking about what the higher self is doing. Is no holotropic breath work. The higher self is always breathing deeply from the stomach in and out, but they're not doing 100 of those. They're actually very, sometimes I have to look and be like, okay, like I see the chest go up and down and up and down, but I'm not seeing anything else crazy happening. So I'm like, okay, what are you doing now? And we're just breathing air very easily, breathing air into them, breathing air so that we can move all of that energy that is dead within, so that the repair that they're doing can actually work. Because if you repair something but there is still the energy there, then you're not going to be able to heal it properly, and then you're not going to be able to seal it properly. And the sealing happens with the spirit, when the spirit is actually sealing the area. So you will ask in your meditation, you will breathe, you will ask, and then you have to imagine that this seal, whether it is beautiful bright light energy, is completely sealing the entire area, because you want to seal it, you don't want to leave it open. It's almost like, imagine having punctures in the areas that need attention, and you heal it, but then you leave it open, so then something else can happen. You have to seal it. So anyways, when we think of the air, we normally don't pay a lot of attention to it. And I wanted to give you the reason why I believe, for example, like the different sacred geometry shapes that may be related to some of these energies. And the one that I received was for the earth element, the air element. Is a representation not only of our spiritual faith, the air element, but also, let's go into the, so it can make sense to you. Let's go into the different deities. The different deities that are related to some of these things, so I can get to the chakra so it can make sense to you, because otherwise I don't know how I'm going to make it simple. When we think of the air, right? The air deities, the air that are like, that have the swords, or the machetes, and they have those representation, which is representing the air element most of the time. Like, like if you think of Shango, Shango is fire, right? If you think of Yemaya, Oshun, Mamachola, Mamiwata, Naisa, the Simbis, that's water. Ogun is air because he has the metal. The metal in that representation that I'm speaking to you about is corresponding to even the archangels that have the sword, which is air, representation of air, like Orisha Ayao, which is the sister of Orisha Oya. Orisha Oya is air, but Orisha Ayao is also air, and she is the sister of Oya. And some say that she resides in the cloud, which is also air and water, because the clouds have water. But Ayao also resides in the forest and the tornado eye, right? Some people, I think, use her to work closely with Osain, or saying however you want to pronounce it. The reason why I find this fascinating is because a lot of people, when they think of air and the warriors and the different elements that are corresponding to the air element, they think of war and they think of negative connotations, like, oh, they have to be aggressive and they have to do this. But in reality, what you're doing with the sword is that you're opening up the way, you're protecting and opening up the ways, right? With the air element, we talk about expansion, because in order for us to, we have the earth is a vessel, is the earth is the vessel of us, right? It could be the plants, it could be whatever, right? We have the water, the emotions, and all of this, right? And when we get to air, is the only element that bridges the fire and the water. Why this is important is because you will see that a lot of energies that we work with, they tend to, any of those elements that are very much associated with air can work with fire and water simultaneously. They can bridge that gap. There is no, for example, there is no other element that can do that. You, in order for you to put together the fire and the water, you have to use the element of air. I think that makes sense, right? Like, how else can I say this? For example, trying to give you an example, like, like Candelo and a path of Anaisa, that is water. Those energies can work well with through the element of air. Let me just see if I can give you another example. The Semi from the Taínos, that destroy everything, that is the hurricane, that is his name. Hurricane is his name, and you can find the information here. The Semi that is known as Guan says, the Semi of the hurricane, it is a divine feminine energy. That feminine energy that basically tells the Semi of the wind and the water, which is wind is air and the water. So now you have that Semi of, which is a deity, a native Taino deity, Guavan says, tells the it's a feminine energy, and it tells the wind and the water to work together in order to create a hurricane. So you have two things that are basically um, come together through the element of air. Trying to see if I can give you another one, because I know it's a little complicated, but this deity will tell the local energies, because you know that the native Tainos practice a very animist spiritual practice where everything is alive, right? So this deity of called Guavan says, let's give her a personality, a beautiful woman called Guavan says, because it's a feminine energy. She will say, okay, you and you, she's commanding the wind and the water to come together in order to make hurricanes. But also, there is another aspect where some of these energies will create different storms, and they're all going through the different local regions because they believe that they were everywhere in order to destroy everything, to bring to destroy what is not working, in order for things to come back in alignment. So to make it come into alignment, they believe that's why Guamances will create powerful hurricanes in order to destroy what wasn't working and bring newness, bring peace and restoration to the area. So to prevent some of those distortions, they had to do a lot of worship. To they believe that they had to worship that energy of Guavances, so things wouldn't be destroyed, because remember, they depended on what they cultivated, and a hurricane will take everything on its way. There is another entity. Oh, I forgot the name of the entity. Anyways, there was another entity. I think Guatauba, Guatauba, Guatauba worked for Guavances, and Guavances will give the orders to Guatauba, and Guatauba will be the one like a captain. So Guavances is the supreme one, and Guatauba will be like, okay, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, you're gonna do that, and together the water from the valleys and the rivers will flow through, but the wind will help to with the wind will make the water that is in the air, the gas water in the gas state, so that it will go like this and create a powerful wind. So anyways, my point is, with the air element, it is how we can bridge the gap between that fire and the water in order for us to expand our consciousness. And this is going to make sense to you now. The root chakra, the first chakra that we know as the root chakra, is the earth element. It is known as the earth element. This is what supports our stability and, our connection to earth through the feet, right? Which is why in the Awakening the Healer video program, we talk about the number one chakra, or the 10th chakra, as Gaia's activation chakra, which it was something that I channeled a while back, and they told me that it was called Kanta. Kanta is the 10th chakra that I channel, that connects us to the animal in Gaia's kingdom. In Gaia's kingdom, a lot of people that are very spiritual, you will see them always grounding without their shoes, because they need to connect to Gaia through the root chakra, which is actually our connection through our feet down to Gaia. So this is where we feel stable. We feel like we're here, we belong. People that are very much in the higher planes have a hard time with this, because they cannot ground themselves enough so they always feel a little funny, that's another story for another day. Then we have the sacral chakra, and the sacral chakra, um this is the water, this is the cosmic womb, right? And this is the what represents, um a lot of emotions are represented through this chakra, actually. Our well-being, our, it's an element that we feel, we know who we are, we can express who we are, right? We can really know, okay, we're not only are we human, but we also are male, female, or whatever, unisex or whatever, right? But also, it is this chakra, especially for those that are trying to understand the connection between the water and the fire, because the solar plexus that represents the fire represents the power and the wisdom, but obviously we cannot have that. It's almost like you start at the bottom, and by the time you get to the top, all of them, like this, have to be. That's why the kundalini comes from the bottom to the top and the top to the bottom. Let me see if I can draw a picture for you guys. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we have the root at the bottom, sacral, solar, and so on. And it goes like this, like a snake going up, right? Because each one has to be in alignment in order for the top ones to be properly activated. Some people believe, I don't know if you guys can see that. Some people believe that you can activate the lower ones before the higher chakras, and I believe it's the opposite. I believe that the lower chakras have to be in alignment. They have to be healed. They have to be in alignment. But to activate the lower chakras, based on what I have channeled and what I understand, the higher chakras have to be activated, because the higher chakras have to be the one in command of the lower chakras. Meaning, if you have a very active root and sacral chakra, your sacral chakra is very much activated, but your heart chakra is not properly in alignment, and your throat and the higher ones, you might be very actively sexually with the wrong people without understanding why that's not for your highest good. That's why I'm saying the higher chakras have to be the ones that says to the lower chakra, now you activate, now you can be activated. Because if you have the lower chakras activated before your higher chakras, it's going to be very hard for you to activate the higher chakras. You actually might go through a lot of challenges, in my opinion. And this is just my opinion, guys. Don't believe that this is just 100% true because I say so, because I'm just giving you my opinion. So the sacral chakra, which is water, and it represents that sexual energy that we have to nurture. And a lot of people do a lot of magic with this sacred energy because it truly is very powerful. When you move that energy from the root all the way up, you can feel those kundalini moments. When we're doing the quantum healing session, people feel all of that energy, and it's like truly is a kundalini moment, because you're moving the whole energy of your body like a snake, and then it comes down and it comes out. So it's almost like a number A, where it's going like this, like it's moving, it's like rotating and rotating. And that's when you get cleansing, that's when you get healing, that's when things start getting clear, that's when something that is not working can start working, because you're actually moving the energy and you're understanding things from a different perspective. So the solar plexus, which is the fire, so you have the earth, water, and fire. Now, this is where this is beautiful, because the air that unites the fire and the water, right, is the heart chakra. And the heart chakra is that bridge. We all know that the heart chakra is the bridge. Like you cannot truly go through your ascension process without understanding the importance of the heart chakra and properly releasing, aligning, and activating the heart chakra. If you don't know how to do that, you got to get help, because the heart chakra, it is the key to everything else. It is the key for healing. It is the key for understanding. It is the key for accessing knowledge, hidden knowledge. It is the key for this life. Like there is no way around it. You cannot, how can I put this? Like you cannot go through your spiritual ascension and evolution without properly activating, healing and activating the chakra. Some people are, oh, that's so cheesy. Well, no, because I cannot get tired of saying this, because it's like a mission. Like I have to do this. I have to let you know. This is true. It is hard. It is the harder chakra to activate. Don't worry about the third eye, because the third eye is easy compared to the heart chakra. The heart chakra is where all the answers are. You can see and tap and receive, but if you're not really doing the work to heal and align and activate the heart chakra, which is a four plus stage process, you will know, do what you need to do. Okay, I don't know how to say it. Some people are like, yeah, I think like, you know what, when I know somebody's lying and their lower ego mind is present in the quantum healing sessions, whether it is in person or online for soul regression or whatever beyond quantum healing, is when they tell me the heart chakra is activated, but I know they're having a lot of issues with realizing and accepting things and being true to themselves, and trying to be, they have a hard time being vulnerable. And I know they are no, it's not the higher self, because I know that they're not being vulnerable. I know that they're trying to hide things. I know that, I just know. Okay. So when somebody says the heart chakra is okay, it is activated, like, no, it's not. But I keep pushing in different ways, because I want people to truly, truly understand the importance of the heart chakra. You cannot have that joy of the sacral chakra, that stability, that support, that presentness. Because the root chakra is about stability and support, right? But what is that? That is you being present in the moment. You cannot be present in the moment, and you cannot have that joy that comes from being in the moment, and truly feel the power within you, and understand and receive wisdom through the solar plexus and the higher chakras, unless your heart chakra is properly activated. And the heart chakra is the bridge between the lower chakras and the higher chakras. But the air, remember we talked about the air being the water, the bridge between the water and the fire, right? So you can see how they all connect to each other. And without the heart chakra being properly activated, the higher chakras cannot do their job properly. They cannot be activated properly. There will be no balance. It will be an unbalance of things. So when we talk about the throat chakra being the third eye, and the crown chakra are ether. They are represented by the ether element. What we're saying is, in order to get to that energy of the soul and the spirit, in order for us to receive that wisdom, that hidden wisdom, to speak our truth, to understand, to expand our consciousness, we have to have the chakra bridge the lower chakras and tell the higher chakras, okay, we're good now. Now you can activate, and then activate us. That's how I see this whole process. Because your throat chakra, and the reason why I said the throat chakra is also very much active, very much has water. I believe the higher centers also have different elements besides ether, like the throat chakra, water. Why? Because when we are thinking and processing our thoughts and all of that, It is through the throat chakra that we can communicate our emotions. And what are emotions? Are water. Emotions are represented through the water. It is the emotions that we feel. That's why a lot of people might have skin problems, because they're not really releasing properly. They might be having a lot of different issues within their body because they're picking up so much, but they don't know how to release those emotions. They might not be speaking it properly. They might have thyroid problem. So the throat chakra, even though it's ether, in my opinion, it is also a water element, because we have to be able to think from and expand the mind, but we also have to be able to speak our truth, speak with power, speak with true understanding of who we are, that we can create anything we want, that we are true manifester. But that doesn't come with you without you going through your heart activation in order for you to understand the purpose of this life, to understand that everyone is a mirror, that when you get triggered, it's because there is something for you to be triggered with so that you can heal. So that person probably signed up to bother the crap out of you so that you can wake up. When somebody's really pissing me off, I'm like, okay, what is the message, please? Because I don't want this to continue, right? So there is a trigger there, and I have to process that trigger so that it can stop bothering me, because I have to heal it. Once it's healed, it can no longer trigger me. It can no longer command me, because the trigger is almost like a command. Like if you're easily triggered, you can be commanded by anyone that can piss you off. Like you become a little slave to somebody else, because you're a slave to your emotions, basically. Okay, so we have to learn to stop being triggered by people and things and situations, right? So that we can be the one in control, so that we can be the one that command this physical vessel, spirit and soul, to behave in certain ways. But that only happens when you go through the heart activation, that really allows you to release and understand and expand your consciousness. You cannot do that without properly going through the process, and that takes time. It's not an overnight situation. That's why the Awakening the Healer course is 1 year, because we cannot do that in a month. We cannot do that in a month and do it properly and truly get the lesson. It's not that it is easy, but it takes time, because you have to go through many different tests to make sure that you got the lesson right, that you got it, So the throat chakra, this is how we tap into ancient wisdom. And when we tap into ancient wisdom, like, when I did that video on the Hell's Gate, I'm not talking about hell like a place where we go and just hang out there because we did bad things. I'm talking about the fact that our mouth, our throat, has the capacity to create hell or paradise. It's up to us, so when we talk about the frequency of the throat chakra, you can either create your own terrible situations by the things that you're talking to yourself, you're saying to yourself, you're thinking, or you're saying to other people, which bounce back to you, or you could create your paradise. It's up to you, really. I mean, there is a lot of evidence, and I did a lot of videos on this. I think I know that some of those videos are in the Awakening the Healer video course, but I think I addressed that in YouTube too, where the words, all those hidden secrets that were given to us through the Bible, or in my case, I found it through the Nag Hammadi library. We're talking about the word actually being us, creation. We are the word. The word is God, and God is who we are, So when we talk about the word, this chakra here, we're talking about that we can understand and command what we want out of this life, because we realize from the higher chakra as well. Once this one is activated, the other ones go hand in hand, and then you realize who you are, so you command what you want out of this life. And that takes time. It's not an overnight process. I'm not going to lie to you, it's not an overnight process. But we're even here, some people said, I create as I speak, because it's true. We do create. That I think that's a Hebrew saying. I will create as I speak, because we do create when we speak. I am either creating positive things around my life or not. It's that simple. But I did a whole video on this. I don't remember the name of the video, but or I don't remember if it's in the video course, but it was all about the power of the word, and how the power of the word, it really is us. We are the gods and goddesses that we seek outside of us. And when we understand that, we can actually come back to us, which is the goal of being here, for us to realize who we are, so that we can be here in the present moment, doing what we said that we were going to come and do, so that we can create and manifest and show to ourselves why we came here. Is, a lot of people are like, yeah, we came here because we had to, and in reality is, most of us, it's very hard to find someone that came here not because they wanted to, but because somebody sent them, which is, it's very hard to find someone like that, because most people wanted to be here for this transition. So we have to realize who we are. When we go into the third chakra, we're talking about that we can see with these eyes, right? But we really receive understanding when we think and see with this eye. Like we're seeing perception, intuition through this eye, through the third chakra. So it is an element of ether, right? Because it is the third eye, is the intuition, is the perception. This is the spirit molecule, right? But you got to remember, in order for you to understand what you're seeing, you have to do a lot of contemplation and meditation, and you have to go through the process of activating the heart chakra, so that you can understand why the other things in your life is almost like a journey, we go through destruction, tower moments, hard times, the dark night of the soul. We come to this process where we're right in between, like the heart chakra. We're going from, oh my God, I'm a beaten, to, oh my God, I can have that power. And then when you go through the third eye in the crown chakra, you realize that you do have the power, and then you can actually command all the chakras to be in full alignment, so that when you meditate and contemplate, you go into kundalini moments. And it doesn't have to be a kundalini moment. I think that's so overrated, honestly, because the moment that you close your eyes and you feel that peace within you, that is a moment. Let's recognize it. It is a moment. It doesn't have to be one of those moments when you feel the energy, so like everything is disintegrating, and you feel like you're going into a trance, and you're in the middle of a trance. It doesn't have to be like that every day for it to be powerful, because the moment that you feel that peace within you, you are truly connected. And the more that you accept that, the easier it is for you to establish a strong relationship with your higher self. A lot of people don't have a strong connection to the higher self because they want the higher self to come in a different shape, in a different color, to make different sounds, but your higher self is always with you. Why would it be so different? I don't know. I mean, maybe there is something that I'm missing, but I close my eyes, I'm connected. I don't have to wait for something crazy to happen and make a big deal and feel like somebody pushed me out and now she's coming in or he's coming in. It is subtle. It is beautiful. It is peaceful. It doesn't have to be a whole, like a whole crazy thing going on. And the more you connect with your higher self, the more easily you're going to feel that transition. Almost like, I'm there. Sometimes it feels like you go, sometimes when I'm meditating, it's like floating, floating, floating. And it's beautiful and all of that. But there are times when I receive so much and I'm having this beautiful long conversation with my higher self, and I don't even realize that I'm doing it because it's just natural. So we have to learn to just be okay with what we receive. I think a lot of people want the higher self to come and like push you out, and you feel like somebody push you and, hey, I'm here. No, it doesn't have to be like that. We do really have to just be more grateful for the fact that the higher self is there. We ask, and that's it. That's all we got to do. We don't have to beg. some of the higher selves have said there is no need to beg. This person is always begging. She's always, or he's always begging. And it's like, we're here. We don't have to, you don't have to do any of that. I am part of him. Why is there a need to beg? You don't have to. If you have that personality where you have to command, I command my higher self, okay, command it. However you feel like you have that connection. But the more that you do it, all you got to do is close your eyes and allow and receive. Let me go through the comments because I think I have to go, and I'm not sure how much time, how much more I can share. Oh, thank you. I've been working on generational healing and studying. Yeah, it's the generational healing. One of the things that the higher self, if I can put it in one sentence, is those imprints. Okay, this is what happens when people create an imprint in our mind. And I only have 10 minutes, so I really have to go. But let me put it this way. We all have these fears, doubts. The more we give them power, they become actually energy within our auric field that can think on their own. And when you least expect it, they have power over you. Over time, the more power there is given to these imprints, memories, or things that you create yourself. I'm not talking about disembodied energies that coming attached to you. I'm talking about your thinking. The thinking creates this energy that says you are going to operate with me. This memory, let's call it memory if it's easier, becomes an imprint because it stays at the soul level. Okay, let me give you a perfect example. I had a client. I don't want to share too much though. Okay, so I had a client. This client, not going to share too much, just going to share the bare minimum because, I like to keep people's stuff private. Um, was living with someone at this time that she was in the session, past life session. The wife, no, the man went to another country, brought someone over to another country, and had a slave. The slave was a slave, so she had to have intercourse with this male. A son is born out of this situation, and the son, she's sharing the life from her perspective, looking at her son and everything that happened, and how this is affecting her. And this woman had this imprint of, I'm only good for this. I'm only good for to be the house taker, the whatever, however she called that. And because you can say that it was no, it wasn't a rape. I don't want to do triggers, if and I'm sorry if I'm going to trigger anyone, but you can say that it was, but it wasn't, because you can call it whatever it was. I guess she did end up having feelings for this guy, so it wasn't considered. Eventually she had feelings for this person that were who she had the son with. And because of that, there was this thing that happened hundreds of years ago that this family carry over, of feeling that they had to comply with certain things regardless, and these things carries over. So this person comes to this session, and thought becomes an imprint that in his heart is, we can talk about imprints and memory and how it creates energy all for many hours. But basically, this idea of this thing that happened to this woman that traumatized her, even though she didn't think it traumatized her, because in that moment she didn't realize that she was being abused, that she was being used, not abused, used. Well, maybe abuse is the right word. When she goes through the death scene, and I take her over to when she transitioned, is when she realized life doesn't need to be this way. But it had already created an imprint that carry over at the soul level, so that at the soul level, this has to be healed. But what happens sometimes is when we reincarnate, we bring the imprint without knowing. Something triggers the imprint, because remember, we are water. That water is always picking up everything that we have been. So something happens early in childhood where she felt the same thing, that she was being used and abused. At the soul level, this imprint activates, and now she has to deal with this in this life and release it. And she, 50 something year woman had to live all these years with this until she's able to do a session and release it. It could be using another modality. It doesn't have to be just quantum healing. But my point is, a trauma from thousands of years ago or hundreds of years ago stays within the soul. When we go through something similar here, that reactivates that memory. So sometimes it's not that we come with a memory. A lot of people think we come with everything that we're going to deal with, and that's it. And what we have been finding is that a lot of the traumas we deal with reactivate in this life because of something that happens that reactivates the memory, and then it becomes an imprint, and it becomes very hard to take it out from the root. So it can create a lot of challenges for us. So if you're experiencing something like that, then you have to definitely find out how to go back to that moment when this originates, so that you can unplug it, so that you can. Some people will call it generational, what is that, generational curse or something like that, but it's not even a curse. It was something that somebody went through, that experience in that life, that they learned the lesson, transition, but when it comes back, that memory is almost like reactivated in this life, even though it occurred thousands or hundreds of years ago, and now you have to deal with it and release it again, because you have to understand, okay, well, no, I already learned that lesson, I don't have to do this anymore. But it is hard to do that, because when we start thinking of ourselves, we don't go deep, we stay at the surface level unless somebody's asking you questions. And that's why the energy exchange between you and your practitioner, you guys have to pick um, the practitioner that is more in alignment with your energy. For example, if I want to do a session, I have waited a long time to do the session that I just did recently this week, because I wanted it to be someone that I felt had the maturity, the maturity to understand my issues. And when you are very spiritually advanced, and I'm not saying that I am, because I consider myself a baby still in regards to that, because I do feel very old, but in regards to that, because I think there's so much that we need to learn, that I need to learn. But if it's somebody very young, there is something in me that says, that person is not going to be the best for this type of session, because what I need is someone that can understand all the issues that I dealt with. And if they're very young, they might not have a lot of life experience to understand that. But if I want to invite that energy of feeling youthful and this and that, I might want to consider doing a session with someone that is younger. So we do have to use some strategy in regards to, and I'm just giving you an example for simplicity's sake, because I had a session with Lila, and Lila is young, and we did an interview with her here, and I got to experience beautiful things with her. But if it was somebody else that I don't have that connection with, because I did have an attraction to her energy, I'm going to have a hard time picking someone that is very young because of that. So you do have to pick people, whether it is godmothers, godfathers, padrinos, madrinas, mambos, hugans, within this different spiritual practices that your energy is vibing with, because there is always an energy exchange besides the things that are said through words that are going to give you a lot of different aha moments that you need, and be able to understand you and connect with you at a deeper level than just what you say here, because a lot of the things that we deal with in the sessions, a lot of the time people don't want to say it. I'm almost like deciphering things until eventually they're able to be vulnerable enough to say things and like really trust and allow, right? So it takes time. But if it's somebody's not in alignment with your energy, then you might not get the most out of the session. I don't even know why I started saying that. I forgot. But the curses, a lot of the curses are just things that we lived that we were supposed to release fully. But sometimes, because they are part of our water molecules and our DNA that carries all of that information, when something like this happen, then you reactivate that memory and then you have to deal and release it. I hope that makes sense. I hope so. Thank you so much, Haley. Let's see. Yemoya Olokun has been working with me on this. Yes, that's beautiful. Yemoya and Olokun, definitely beautiful water energies, entities, deities that there is so much there that we can say. So we don't have time to go into that. But, those people that are very much, you got to think about your soul's element. That's why, when you think of your soul's element, it's going to make sense. The guardian angels that come forward to recognize you as their part of their families, right? Like if you have a lot of water, you're going to have a Yemoya. If you have fire, you're going to have a Shung, and so on and so on, right? So thank you so much, everyone. I have to run. I hope I didn't confuse you. I know I tried to give information that hopefully is going to make sense, but I know sometimes it was a lot that I was picking up and not being able to communicate it properly. So I hope that you get the most out of this conversation. Let me know in the comments. There is so much that we all need to learn from the different elements and how to work with them in our altars, for our daily life. Breathing is so important. There was a whole month that I spent channeling information about the heart of the dragon that I received. It was a concept that I received in a channel message, and it took me like a month to channel and receive all the clues because it was such a big concept. And then it ended up being so simple. And I was like, why did it take me so long? I was actually frustrated with myself because they show me so many different things with the back of the neck, with the heart, with the breath, and the gate of health and all of that. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Why is it so confusing? And it's really just very simple. But what is that? What they call? I forgot the name of that breath technique, but it's breath of fire. Is what the Hindus call it, breath of fire. And when you're breathing in and breathing out, it's a specific technique. But the simplest way that I can say this is that this breath of fire, purifying, because it's purifying, right? It's going to purify every time you breathe in. And I find myself breathing differently now than before, because even before I will forget to consciously breathe, and I find myself, after seeing the higher self so much, saying breathe, 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 find myself breathing deeply, much more so than before. It's not perfect by any means, but unless I'm doing it consciously. But this breath is rejuvenating energy and removing stock energy. And when we really do that, and we can have 2 minutes to close our eyes and think, you're going to feel a very deep connection to your higher self naturally. And you just trust that what you start feeling and receiving is truly divine, so that you can establish trust with your higher self. Because a lot of people are so disconnected, not because the higher self is not there, but because they're not believing that the higher self is there. And all we have to do is really trust and surrender to the process. What is your question? See if we have. I have to go in a minute. If you can put your question down, maybe I have time to answer now. And anyway, so maybe she gets to share the question in a second, or you can put it in the comment and we can take it from there. um and let us know your way to connect with the different elements. I know some people are more, like I have some friends that they're crazy about fire energy, and I'm like, okay, like what's going on with your fire, and like they can move, um they feel that they can move the energy of the fire and like really play with the fire. And one simple technique that you could do to start working with fire energy within you is to just close your eyes and imagine, put your hands out like this, and feel the energy. And when you feel that energy, then you start imagining like a little tornado on your hands, fireball, like a fireball, and simply just allow it to grow and grow. And then when you're done, turn it off like this. Don't just throw it away, because you could cause actually harm with that. Just turn it off like this, like and that's it. But you will start feeling, I mean, like I can feel it right now, and you just continue to feel that energy. And if there is an area within you that is having issues, like let's say you have a stomach ache, you bring that energy and you purify that energy on your stomach area with the energy that you built on your hands. When I have a T Truth Speaker says, when I have put my candles out on my altar, it lit back up. Yeah, that means you were not supposed to turn it off. And why would you turn it off? If you light a candle, you always let it burn until it ends. You don't turn it off. If you have glass candle, make sure that you have a little bit of water, like a bowl underneath, so you don't burn anything, because you can cause a fire. But yeah, you don't turn it off. You keep that until it's done, because only the energies that you're working with know when it is properly done. And if it turns off and it's something good, it's a good spell for your benefit, then you turn it back on yourself. Now if it's something that you shouldn't be doing, then it turns off, let it be turned off, because that means that you could be causing trouble, unnecessary trouble, that can be very bad for yourself as well. So you got to be careful with that. Okay, so I think, okay, guys, I have to run. Thank you so much. Let me know in the comments how you work with the different elements. And again, I hope everything makes sense, but I know I was all over the place, so I apologize in advance. Thank you so much. Ciao.